This episode is brought to you by HASA. Liquid is clearly better. Liquid chlorine is the highest purity, works immediately, has no added cyanuric acid or calcium, and it will leave your pool safe, clean, and clear. And by the bottom feeder professional grade battery powered vacuum system. It sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. Get $100 off with code DVB100.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer, the #1 pool service software in North America. With Skimmer, you can streamline your schedule, grow your revenue, and keep your customers coming back with 5-star service. Whether you're a one-person operation or an established team, Skimmer is your partner in success. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
Welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm going to go over the 2025 Pool Owner Report with Nikki Acosta from Skimmer. We're going to touch on some points in the report. It's 51 pages, so we can't go over the entire report. And I split this into 2 parts because if you're like me, you can have information overload if you have too much going on or if you're getting too much information at one time. So in this first part, we're going to talk about some things in the report that highlighted value and price point, also the cost of service and why some people choose to do their pools themselves. And we're going to also touch on how to add value to your business. In the description, you're going to find a link to get this report. I highly recommend you download this report and review it and look at the information in here because it's definitely going to help you fine-tune the marketing of your pool service in your particular area towards customers, and you're going to see what customers really want out of pool service. Are you a pool service pro looking to take your business to the next level? Join the Pool Guy coaching program. Get expert advice, business tips, exclusive content, and get direct support. From me, I'm a 35-year veteran in the industry. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I've got the tools to help you succeed. Learn more at swimmingpoollearning.com. So I'm joined today by Nikki Acosta of Skimmer. How you doing today?
I'm great, David. How are you?
I'm doing really good. And today I brought you on to talk about the Skimmer does a lot of these things for the pool pros. And this one here I found very interesting compared to the state of the industry ones that you've done. This is a report basically geared towards pool owners responding to a set of questions regarding pool service. And so let's just jump right into it. And if you want a copy of this particular report, I'll have the link posted in the description of this podcast for our listeners. So why don't you get started and we'll just start talking about some of the interesting things that were discovered with this study.
Yeah, sure. So, you mentioned the state of pool service reports that we do, and we launched our second one this year. And, while that is really, really valuable for the industry in terms of, what pool pros see as their challenges and their opportunities, we wanted to take it a step further and talk to pool owners directly. So what we did was we kind of followed the same sort of process to be able to get the survey out to pool owners and ask them things like, what do you value in a service provider? Would you be open to different types of billing models? How do you like to pay? What are the reasons that you hire a pool professional? And we were able to produce a really fantastic report. I don't remember how many pages it is, but I want to say it was like 50 some odd pages of just diving into what we hear from pool owners in terms of what they want. Are they doing service on their own? Are they using a professional service? If they're using a professional service, what are the things that they value the most?
And then the report is very detailed. And I think one of the focal points was the value that pool service provides to the customer. And this is one aspect. If you flip it over to the pool service company, we're always worried about price point, providing value to customers. In some competitive markets, this is much more crucial. The report did hit a lot of these key points of how the homeowners feel about service charges. And there were some interesting things. I'll address that a little bit later. that I found from homeowners, but you can talk a little bit about providing value and how this report kind of highlights those aspects.
If we think about why people may leave a full service provider, or maybe it's something some compelling reason of why they want to find a full service provider. We hear the same frustrations. These are probably not a surprise to most full service companies. People get frustrated and they look for a new provider because there's inconsistent service quality, there's a lack of communication, there's surprise charges on a bill that damage trust, and there are missed or late visits. And this is not uncommon, but it is something that is absolutely fixable, especially if you're using software like Skimmer. When we ask people what are the main reasons you're hiring a pool pro, it's expertise. 86% of people said it's expertise. 77% said it's convenience, and 70% said time savings. So if you know that expertise, convenience, and time savings are the main reasons why you are hiring a pool professional, you can make sure that you are able to deliver those things and win more customers over by highlighting how you are an expert, how you make pool service very convenient, whether that's through your payment options or otherwise, and how by leveraging you as a service provider, that pool owner is going to save time.
And I think one aspect that the survey highlighted, and I think it's an important aspect, is a lot of reasons why do-it-yourselfers do their pools themselves. I think the survey says 53% of them basically do the pools themselves because of the cost. Like they feel that they're saving money. And interesting also the demographics of the survey of the income brackets of people that use pool service. And I've always knew this, and a lot of pool service providers know this as well, that the high income earners are the ones that, of course, hire services, landscapers, house cleaners, pool service. And that was not a surprise, but I think the fact that a lot of them are looking at costs was a little bit of a surprise to me.
Sure. I mean, look, for people who are going the DIY route, like cost is a main factor of why they do that. And it could be an education thing. Maybe they don't realize, what the cost of servicing their own pool is relative to how much it would cost if they were to leverage your provider. Going in and not buying chemicals in bulk, or buying them, from a retail pool store over the counter. Obviously, you're going to pay more as a DIYer than you would if someone else was achieving economies of scale and buying those in bulk. And then there's the time factor too, right? Like there may be people that have time. My mom's a good example. She actually took the survey, but she takes care of her own pool. She has one of those little Lamont devices at home that she gets through Leslie's, and she's running her own tests and calling me often to ask what to do, in addition to going to her Leslie store and letting them sell her everything under the sun that she supposedly needs to keep her pool in check. So, there's always going to be those folks. I think where it gets really interesting for a lot of those DIYers is that a lot of them are not necessarily going to repair their own equipment. They're also, a lot of them, from what we heard, are open to automation. And that is not something that I think a lot of folks are tapping into, is sort of this need for, hey, your equipment's broken, this is a service we provide. By the way, instead of doing a one-to-one swap, like, have you thought about implementing some kind of automation? And 63% of respondents said that they would pay more for automation. So there's definitely an opportunity there for folks, whether you are just doing a repair for a DIYer, or you are a service professional and equipment is failing, or it's time for an upgrade. There's definitely an opportunity there to make sure that you're educated and your customer is educated that these automation platforms, which obviously cost more and give you a good margin, there's a good opportunity there to usher your client through an upgrade.
And before I touch on some of the reasons why they are frustrated with pool service, I think I should reference a book that is eye-opening to people that are servicing high-income people. The book is called The Millionaire Next Door, and it was a study done on millionaires. And in that book, it talks about pahs and wahs. So the real millionaires are like school teachers, people that own junkyards, and they refer to it as in Texas, big hat, no cattle. So the people that we're dealing with that are high income, they pay a lot of income taxes, and they do have a budget they're working with. And technically, I wouldn't consider them off the top millionaires. They're high earners, and so they have probably a lot of debt, and they also have a lot of taxes they pay. And there's a difference between an actual millionaire and a high earning person, because here in California, if you earn, some of these people are earning like 200,000 a year, you're paying like 40% of your income in taxes. It's really crazy. The state tax is like 10%, and then you have the income tax. And so I think we need to clarify that high earners not necessarily have the money and resources that we think they would have. It's a little bit a misconception out there that if you make 200,000 a year, you can afford, $200 or $250 pool service. That's not necessarily the case. In this book, I recommended to the pool pros out there who are wondering why there's so much pushback with costs, and it's the fact that there's a misconception of who actually has the wealth in America. Little side note, I just wanted to throw that out there for them.
Yeah, totally. And after we launched this report, we did a webinar with he's actually a pool and spa industry trainer who's been in this market for 40 years, and he is absolutely brilliant. His name's Steve Hassmuller. He does a lot and does some training for Pool and Spa Retailer magazine, but he wanted to kind of reset expectations. I think a lot of folks in pool service come in with a prejudice. They're prejudging what they think a customer might want or need. A lot of what he talks about is kind of along more around kind of the motivational, changing the way that you think. Because in order for you to be effective in a sales process, you will be limiting yourself if you are assuming that the person that you're going to pitch your service to thinks the same way that you do or values the same things that you value. What he recommended was don't assume. Like step one, don't assume. And when you go in to deliver a sales presentation, whether you're in the backyard or you're on the phone, there are some steps that you can take to uncover what it is that's important to your potential buyer without pivoting to price first. And the way he thought about this was like, look, you can either offer a commoditized service or you can create a creative monopoly. And he used the example of coffee. So like, Folgers in the red tub, if you go and buy Folgers at your favorite grocery store, it's going to be like $5.99, right? And a lot of people do that. If you want to go buy a bag of Starbucks, a pound of that's going to run around $15, right? So you've got, $6 for Folgers, you've got $15 for a pound of Starbucks. But then you look at an espresso. And Nespresso machines, he mentioned, are very, very common in Europe. I just bought one. We got one in the office, and I loved it so much I bought one for home. They have the little pods that you put in there, and he very, very quickly pointed out that if you are using an espresso machine, you're not paying $6, you're not paying $15 like you would with Folgers or Starbucks, but you're paying $37.50 a pound. And why? Why do I have it? It goes back to expertise, convenience, and time savings. It's super convenient. As far as expertise, like it makes a darn good cup of coffee, and it saves me a ton of time, not having to fiddle with filters and refilling water, every 5 seconds. I get a perfect cup of coffee every time. And if you think about pool service in that way, you have that option too. Now, you may want to be a commodity provider. You may be in an area where the prices are really low. There's a ton of competition. even in those instances, you can still find ways to sell the value that you provide. If everyone's priced the same, what makes you different? Why should someone choose you? And in order to do that, you have to be able to first and foremost sell yourself, sell your company, and then sell what makes your product or service great. For anyone who's going out and losing, bids or having a lot of pushback on price, I would encourage you to take the time to sit down and come up with 3 points of how you sell you, whether it's I've been in the business for 20 years, I service, 14 other pools in your neighborhood, whatever that is. Sell your company, what makes your company different from other people. This could be things like we leverage, Skimmer to make sure that we can offer you convenient auto pay options and send you email reports and give you a customer portal. Like those kinds of technology tools, we take it for granted that those will set you apart. That kind of communication, having a service email after every visit with all your readings and your dosages and photos of a pool, like that's going to reduce complaints, which is a number one reason why people complain or leave. And it's going to highlight the value that you provide. And whether other people are doing it or not, like they may not be talking about it. You may be using some other platform. Your competitors may be using some other platform. But I think we forget that like customers may not know how that platform allows you to deliver, better service and better communication and a better overall customer experience.
And the easiest way to get part 2, of course, is to subscribe to my YouTube channel where I post these podcasts Monday through Friday. You can also subscribe to my podcast through the Apple Podcast site. Just go to my website, swimmingpoollearning.com. There's a podcast banner on top as well, which will have a menu of podcast episodes previously aired. And you can subscribe, of course, on your iTunes or Apple Podcast site. Wherever you get your podcast, you can subscribe to the show. If you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week. God bless. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.